two, and where do you think each excels against each other?
I haven't really worked with Ciryl Gane. Like, that video the other day when I grabbed his leg was the extent to which we worked together. I think Cyryl's advantages are going to be the footwork and the ability to match Jon physically, right? He's as big as anyone Jones ever fought. And for Jones, it's honestly the mind, the fight IQ, you know? I like Ciryl Gane as a person. He's one of my buddies. But even he'll tell you that leg lock he tried against Francis Ngannou essentially cost him a championship. Jones would never make that mistake in a fight, right? So Jones's biggest advantage is his mind and to be able to stay locked in the fight. Ciryl Gane's gonna have to match that if he wants an opportunity to win tomorrow night.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Go ahead, Minnesota.
It's for Stipe. When you get your title shot, what is going to be your approach you take when you fight Jon Jones?
They're just assuming he's gonna win.
Well, whoever it is, I mean, it is Jones, it is, but my approach would be just going to beat that ass. I'm going to train hard, and I do what I do every camp, and don't stop. It's what's mine. Thank you. And I want to say to everybody up there, thank you for all the great fights you've given us, and will continue to give us. Thank you.
Love that guy. I like that. Wow.
Hey DC, my
Yes.
question's for you. As somebody who fought Jon Jones, you think his pictogram experience or some of his bad behavior experiences behind him, or you think that will show in heavyweight?
I don't know. I mean, you kind of hope that he's moved past that, and he goes forward, and he can build a resume without all that stuff, because he's essentially exonerated himself from all the stuff. So now it's a fresh start. He has an opportunity to not mess up, and as long as he doesn't mess up, we can only judge him on what he's doing now. The reason I have such strong opinions is because of what he was doing when we were competing. Now he's back after 3 years. Let's see what happens.
Appreciate it, thank you.
My first question is for DC. Love the YouTube channel, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting.
You've had a very illustrious and beautiful career. My question is there anything you regret or would have done differently at any point in your career?
I probably would have retired after I beat Stipe the first time, or beat Derrick Lewis, just to be done, because I threw my back out and I just wasn't as good, you know. And also I might not have threw that kick against Frank. You remember that kick I tried to do? When I jumped and tried to kick in, you looked at me like, what the fuck are you doing? I might have not did that in the octagon, because people still make fun of me about it. Jumping and trying to kick Frank, they call me the Kung Fu Panda.
My second question is for Jon. You've called some incredible fights in your career, but which fight would you say is your favorite of all time?
Well, I got to shout out the lead horse, Mark Hunt, who fought Bigfoot Silva in Brisbane, Australia in 2013, because we have a heavyweight panel. I still believe that is the greatest heavyweight fight in UFC history. I mean, but the most memorable moment for me was certainly last August. Headshot bang in Salt Lake City with Leon Edwards, right? So DC and I are obviously going to London, England in a couple weeks, and we'll see what Kamaru has to say about all of that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man. Go ahead.
This question's for everybody. Everybody's assuming Jon Jones is gonna win. If he does, where do you rank him among champs?
Well,
And if not one, who's won?
well, you gotta. I thought Champ was having the belts at the same time, but so did Randy Couture and all those guys. But if he wins, I mean, he's held belts in 2 weight classes. He has to rank around the top, right? Because anytime a guy wins the 2 heaviest weights, it has to matter. So he'll be ranked pretty high.
1, 2.
Well, everybody that's held 2 belts at the same time have to be, right? Henry and Amanda and Connor, like, it's a different category than me.
I'm what DC said, honestly, you get to hold the belt twice and then 2, at the same time, but I don't know, you'd be high up there. I put Jon as the #1 fighter. I think that I know sometimes people want to detract from some of his occurrences that occurred outside the cage. I get it. But if we're just talking about the minute they close that cage door, I've sat down and gone over film with Jon. I hear how he thinks about things. I've trained with him for 2 years. I've seen it. If you look at his body of work, essentially he's undefeated. I mean, his only loss against Matt Hamill was a DQ. So you got a guy who basically has never lost in the UFC. He's fought a who's who going through the gambit. I mean, it isn't like he had an easy path. One of the hardest weight classes in the UFC is the 205 weight class. And I think he's utterly dominated it to a point where even when, you know, a guy's good when he fights a fight and it's just kind of close even, and the other guy does decent, but still loses, and people are disappointed in you because of how dominant you are. So I put Jon as the best fighter in the world, pound for pound.
I mean, based on the scenario, if he wins this weekend, he's on the Mount Rushmore, but I'm not gonna have him at #1. I still give that to DC. You gotta do it more than just one time. If he beats Gane and he beats Stipe, that's a different story. But if we're just going off just the Gane win, he's on the Rushmore, but he's not #1.
I put him in #1, especially if he wins. For sure, I got him at #1. The guy refuses to lose. He's undefeated, and nobody can top that. And he's fought for so long, been around forever. He's just a stud.
Thank you, man. All right, back over here. We got just a few more minutes. Go ahead.
Hello. This is a dream come true from a UFC fan from North Dakota since 1994. Thank you all. My question to the panel is, I've got 3 young boys, all in boxing. What advice do you have to parents and young fighters of things we should be doing to make sure they're safe and learning how to use the craft properly?
Who wants to take that one?
Sorry, I was really loud.
Get him in wrestling.
That's what I was gonna say. Put him in wrestling.
Hey, look, I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. My daughter and my son right now wrestle a lot more than they do jiu-jitsu. If you look at it, if you're thinking about an MMA career, or even just as far as boxing injuries, jiu-jitsu injuries, wrestling's the ultimate thing you can put your children in, and I'm speaking firsthand experience. Even with my experience in boxing, jiu-jitsu, my children all wrestle first and foremost.
You can pick up on the other skills later. It's hard to just learn to wrestle because it's so difficult to do and it's so like hard on the body. So
But it establishes so many other aspects of your mind. Wrestling does that. Basically, the attributes there are second to none.
Thank you.